Okay, beautiful. So I figured out why Jet, my chat GPT, was mixed up. Apparently, his calendar is off a whole day, so he thought today was Friday. Uh, so that's why I messed up yesterday. I won't blame him. I should have looked at it. But that's why we're doing fitness today instead of yesterday. So, as we talked about with our pillars of health, we've got our mindset down. We talked about our nutrition. Today's going to be fitness. So, what we're kind of talking about, and how I labeled it, is you're moving, but are you building? And I actually know that both of you specifically have done parts of programs before, right? Without necessarily doing like a whole thing or continuing to do a specific type of program, right? So the first thing that I'd love to hear is your experience. What are some programs that you have tried? What types of ways have you tried to work out? And what does that look like for you? So Ray, what have you tried?
Um, well, I don't know if I really tried like a specific program, but I have done like I followed videos
Mm-hmm.
or I follow videos on YouTube. For example, kettlebell videos, and I think I like it because I can find different videos to like hit different body parts, or if I want to even do a full body part or a full body workout, I'll just look up one video and I just follow the video. It's pretty easy to follow, just do what the guy's doing or whoever's instructing it is doing. I like them. I'd rather follow somebody than try and come up with workouts on my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of people like that too. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Nathan, what about you?
Um, what do you mean by program?
So you had mentioned that you had somebody that programmed for you for a bit, right?
Oh, oh, yeah. So um, yeah, just like at different times I've had like weightlifting schedules, I guess, or at
Okay.
least like a couple workouts during the week, and then maybe I do my own or something,
Okay.
then for another day or two.
So have
But
you
yeah,
had a period of time where you were like following one specific program?
that's a good question. I've had periods of times where I've repeated workouts, but and um and I've you know kind of done weight training for the last well on and off for a long time, but fairly consistently the past few years. But yeah, I mean it's a good, but yeah, maybe not the most. Never really super strict
Mm,
program.
hmm. Okay, cool, for sure. Have you guys ever tried like random TikTok workouts or like ones that you see on social media or anything like that?
I In the past, yes, I've seen or actually a while ago when I was looking up kettlebell workouts on YouTube, I was watching a lot of YouTube shorts to see the different kinds of kettlebell workouts.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Not really. Like I don't know if you've seen like Mad Fit. She does YouTube videos, and then it kind of started like a whole. I don't know. I don't know if she's the first one, but she was a big one. So yeah, I guess I have done like she would do ab workouts, and now there's all kinds of that kind of thing. But so yeah, I guess I have done once in a while.
Okay,
Done
cool, for sure.
something.
And I know, like, definitely in my past and stuff like that, I've done a few of those, like, challenges where they're, spell your name out and whatever your letters are is your workout. Like, stands for 8 burpees or whatever, like silly stuff like that. Or I used to do CrossFit a bit in my gym. What really got me started was P90X. So back in 2011 was when I first started getting into lifting. And so, do you guys know the P90X videos?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. Nathan?
Yeah, I actually, my baseball team in high school, we like before the season, um, some of us who didn't have another sport right then, we did the PNDX videos
Yeah.
for a while.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I was super into P90X. I got to the point where I was literally working out for like 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm not joking you. And I was like
Wow.
getting really strong, but I was like really like unhealthily skinny. You know what I mean? Like to the point where like my teammates were actually concerned about me. Uh, And so I just like got too obsessed and I realized that this was not like the best option for me and I needed to pull back and stuff like that, right? And so then I started to do, I started being a personal trainer, working out at the gym, getting super jacked. And then when I decided to go back to cheer for college, I got a lot of comments about how stunts weren't hitting because I was too strong. And
That's
really, it was
interesting.
just because I was like doing too much, right? And like I wasn't that good at being a flyer yet. But they could see that I was strong, and so they called it that, right? And so that made me really subconscious, and I actually stopped lifting for like 2 years. I would do like rehab and stuff, but I wouldn't lift because I didn't want to look bulky because I didn't want people to tell me that I was bulky, and that was the reason that I was bad at cheer. You know what I mean? And so that was really, really hard to go through. And it wasn't until I graduated college the second time around and stopped that program that I like got back into lifting. And it's so crazy because I'm sure you guys have seen this too. When I was not working out, I was the most injured, the most exhausted. Like I ended up having a bunch of issues when I was not working out versus when I got back into it. And now I feel strong, resilient. This last season, I was the least amount of injured possible. And it's all because I was able to like follow my own type of structure, right? And be consistent about it without feeling afraid that I was going to be too bulky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that just also goes back how we were talking about the toxicity of cheer.
Yeah.
Just not really just saying, oh, it's because of this, because of this, because of that, instead of working around it or trying, not working around it, but trying to work with it.
Yeah. And realizing that the strength training is functional, right? Like it's not just for looks, and girls don't have to be the skinniest possible. It's beneficial actually for them to be super strong so that they can,
Yeah.
and like,
It,
tumbling and stuff like that, that takes a lot of strength, right?
oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought, I would think it would be beneficial. It would be stronger for all the stunts.
Absolutely, yeah, and especially for the guys too. And so that's one of the reasons that I want to work with both males and females because the principles are the same. Yes, the guys might be lifting a little bit more volume, but like the girls should also be lifting, right? For like injury prevention and everything too. So that's the next piece that I wanted to get into is what do you think strength training in general or having muscle can do to help benefit you in your life? We'll popcorn this one.
Um, just overall health, like and or health to prevent injuries, honestly, is a big one.
Yeah.
Uh, First thing that for me that pops to mind with is my grandpa. Without getting into too many details, I mean he's in his mid 80s, so older, but he's just been really. I mean uh, he's decently healthy at this point, but well, at least until last year. But his legs are just really weak, and he even had a bad fall uh, last year and got a concussion. So but it was mostly to do, I think, with his leg strength and balance. So I mean, obviously, in your mid 80s, it's hard to know. I mean, it's obviously getting up there, but I think it can be beneficial to be stronger as you age.
Yeah, totally. And that the fact that you're recognizing that now is super important, right? Because if you can create this really good base and then keep it up, maintaining is a whole lot easier than working your way backward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other benefits to being strong or strength training, muscle?
I don't know if there's an exact relation to it, but maybe a longer life, living
Yeah,
longer.
absolutely. Definitely. Not only from the injury prevention standpoint, but yeah, also like a healthy heart, excuse me, and
Yeah.
stuff like that too. Yeah, for sure. Anything else?
Mm, maybe more more energy,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Do you know why?
I don't.
Okay. So this is actually a really interesting conversation that I have a lot with a lot of my clients that are like, oh, I'm just too tired, or I'm too busy to work out, I don't have enough energy, that sort of thing. So when we're building our muscle cells, there are these little powerhouses of our cells called mitochondria, right? And so all of our cells have mitochondria, either a few of them or like a bunch of mitochondria, and that's what produces and burns up energy. And so when we have more muscle, we also have more mitochondria. So even though it feels like you're working and that you're taking away from your energy at the time, in the grand scheme of things, it's actually adding more energy to you. So your muscles tissue itself is also the most metabolically active tissue in your body. And so it's also going to burn more calories throughout the day with you doing nothing at all. So basically, the stronger you are, the skinnier you're going to stay without having to do anything. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, right? And then on top of that, we just talked about how it's beneficial not only for injury prevention, but for performance, right? Because if you're stronger, you probably have more power potential. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Any other, excuse me, benefits that we can think of for energy and muscle?
Oh, I guess I thought of, I find if I get a good workout in, not necessarily just strength, but just exercise in general, it kind of usually problems I had going in seem a little, puts it, they seem a little less bad. And it also, I think, ties for me into the sleep that we talked about last night is
Mm-hmm.
being tired, uh, physically tired helps me sleep better.
Cool. So I'm hearing mental health there, like psychological, right, benefits.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then also you're tiring your body out a little bit so then you sleep more soundly, right?
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Those are two really great examples. Awesome. Okay.
Or
Yeah, please.
as I say, adding on to that, maybe less stress.
Mm, definitely. And for a lot of people, it becomes like a little bit of a safe haven, right? Like you can go to the gym and that's where you feel comfortable and confident. And, oftentimes most people, when they are, let's say that you're wanting to go to the beach and you're just embarrassed to take your shirt off, right? Like, how do we fix that? Put
Working
on some
out.
more muscle, right? Everyone wants to take their shirt off when they got a lot of muscle, right? So I know that sounds silly and vain, but it's like one of those things where if you recognize it early on, like that's what's going to make people work out today. Longevity is what's going to make people work out tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And it's very, very important. I do think that that's a huge piece to think about. It's like, how am I going to improve the quality of my life, or at least maintain the quality of my life as I get older? But it's really hard to talk to 20-something-year-olds about when you're 70, right? Because it's so far away, right?
Yeah.
And that as the gap gets closer and closer, sometimes it's a little bit easier to understand. But have you guys been there too, where you're just like, I'm fine,
Oh yeah.
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 Because when you're young and you're healthy and you don't have injuries, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. As we get older, we start to have more problems, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, all kinds of benefits. I think the confidence piece is really important, and again, that prevention piece. If you start to build that maintenance like reserve, then all you have to do is maintain. If you want to build, you're more than welcome to do so, right? But all you have to do is maintain that muscle instead of trying to start from ground zero. Or if you let yourself gain a bunch of weight, having to try to shed that weight and gain muscle, right? Like it's a little bit more than if we just like get it early, keep it. Like, have you ever met people that did like a sport or something like that in college? Obviously, we were cheerleaders, but that did a sport in college and then left college and probably gained a decent amount of weight,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Why do we think that happens?
They just aren't working out as often, or all the training that they did with practices, they don't go to those practices anymore. So
Yeah.
Like they're missing that structure piece, right?
no.
They're missing somebody telling them what to do
Mm-hmm.
and how to do it and when to do it.
Yeah,
And then you're out on your own.
that's actually kind of something I've been struggling with. I gained some weight after we stopped with cheer, and yeah, but I've been okay. Well, what if on practice days I'll do something like go run or do like a small workout or something.
Yeah. And it's like creating that structure for yourself almost, right? Like now you have to
Mm.
keep yourself accountable.
Yes, exactly. And then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, do I show up for myself or do I not? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to show up for myself, so I'll do it.
And sometimes it's easier to not show up for yourself than it would be to not show up to practice, right? Like that wouldn't go down.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. That's a really great point. So that's another piece that I want to talk about, taking what we talked about in the very, very beginning and then taking it back to the structure piece. So maybe you don't have structure anymore. Maybe you don't have somebody programming for you anymore, or you're not following those workouts anymore. You're done with practice. Like, how do we build and why is that structure important? What is that going to do for you?
You're asking, how can we build that structure?
How can we build that structure? Why is that structure important?
Um, well, I guess one example for me is I kind of had the exact experience of it was kind of I played baseball for 1 year in college and well in high school, but after that I was exactly what you both said, like half the workout time, and I was eating the same, and then worse, and then I started a desk job, so I gained quite a bit of weight over a few years. Um, but something that helped me, I guess, at first um, was I would swim. I had like 2 or 3 days, but it was like always the same days. So that was very simple. And obviously, you're not going to get super jacked or anything from, you know, 3 swims, but it helped because it was easy to meet those or not miss.
Cool. Love it. Right?
Yeah, I would say like creating a kind of some sort of schedule or even having, yeah, just like a plan of your week of what you want to work out, like what body part, what you want to do as a workout, maybe. Like if you want to go swimming or go running, go rollerblading, go tumbling, whatever. Um, yeah.
And that brings up a really good point. So I agree with everything that you're saying. Asterisk. A lot of my clients that have a hard time working out or being active consistently, I tell them, do whatever the fuck you're gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
do the thing, be active, da da, whatever. But if we're looking long term, that structure piece might have to be a little bit tighter, right? So, like you were talking about, kind of just doing random videos here or there, you may not be building muscle specifically because it's not planned out, it's not as strategic. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Or can can you explain it again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was trying to not dive too far into it, but I'm going to tell you at least the basic concept. So the main concept of building muscle is called progressive overload. So the general idea is that you have, and Nathan, you've probably seen this in your programming, you have an exercise that you're doing. Actually, I think we've talked about this too, right? That you're doing, and you do however many sets, however many reps, and then the next time you try to go up in weight or up in reps, and then you try to go up in weight or up in reps, right? And we're building, progressively overloading that muscle. So if you stay at the same weight the whole time, or if you're doing just a bunch of random stuff, like yeah, you'll gain a little bit of muscle, but if we're able to make it a little bit more planned and regimented, you're going to get like guaranteed gains, right? Because you're able
Okay.
to calculate it a little bit more. So
Yeah.
that's going to make a huge difference in terms of how much muscle you're actually gaining rather than just kind of randomly doing whatever and then like staying fit but not actually building, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
then same thing when it comes to injury prevention. Prehab and rehab, I think, are easily neglected by a lot of people, especially if you're not injured. You're like, why do I have to do rehab when I'm not injured? So you don't get injured, right? I know that sounds a little bit silly, but it is true, right? So there's a lot of times, especially if you feel like something's a little off or something's coming on where you're like, okay, this feels a little bit weird. Like that's the time to hop on it, or even before that. How many people have you known, or maybe you guys have done this, that go to PT for an injury, and they do all their PT while they're in PT, and then PT stops, and then they stop,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot. And just because the PT stops, right, your insurance stopped paying for the sessions, whatever, whatever, that doesn't mean that that body part is back up to 100%, right? And so we have to be strategic about the way that we're approaching things to make sure that we're taking care of things like that may or may not become injuries or have not been injuries, but also that we're doing that progressive overload so that we know that we are challenging the muscles a little bit more each time and that they're actually growing. You know what I mean?
And yes, and with that, like progressive overload, like
Mm-hmm.
could you do different kinds of workouts, but that are obviously working out the same muscle, or is it better just to like continue the same workout but just add more weight over time?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. It depends. And that's where we get into the weeds a little bit, but I'll give you like the short of the long. It is easier to track if you're doing similar or the same movements.
Okay.
Can you still gain? Yes. However, if it's just super random and you don't know if you can comparatively put two exercises against each other, then it's much, much harder to track. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So most of my clients I'll put in a 4 to 8 week window where they're doing the same or similar exercises. We may even be progressing it, like doing a more difficult version or something like that, right? But I'm not going to change their workouts every week.
Okay. Okay.
See
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Are you starting to see the benefit of that structure a little bit more?
Yes.
Okay, cool, perfect, awesome. So we'll go do our takeaways really quick, and then I'll kind of tell you how we're implementing it in building. So Ray, tell us one thing that you can take away from today's session, or something you can immediately implement.
Yeah. It's actually just the question I asked you about progressive overload because um, I kind of do like being spontaneous with my workouts and not having like a set plan or have a structured workout. But I do notice that yeah, my I don't gain as much muscle, and yeah, that's why, because I always try to do something different so I don't get bored. But yeah, I think what I would take away is just sticking with a specific plan to start gaining more muscle or like get bigger muscles, and instead of just okay, well, I'll do this now and then tomorrow I'll do something else, or then the next day I'll do something completely different that's not even related to what I was doing the last days.
And sometimes it's a little dangerous when you're doing that too, because then one day you're just like, I just don't feel like it. And then one day turns into 7 days. You know
Yes,
what
yes, yes, exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, for sure. Nathan, what you got?
Yeah, mine's pretty much the same thing. Like with the swimming, I kind of maxed out any like physical change. I think I could. I mean, I guess I could have changed my diet a little bit. So, but that's kind of why I wanted to get some strength training in. And so, yeah, but it's been really random. Sometimes missing the work that I do have to do, or just doing my own, but it's very random. So it'd be good to have a set plan and
Yeah,
stick with it for a while.
absolutely. And swimming is one of those things that's a little bit tricky because you see swimmers and you're like, damn, that guy's fit.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're not going to gain any muscle for you, but it is very cardiovascular heavy, right? Kind of like runners, right? So it is still really beneficial, even if you're a swimmer or a runner, to have some type of resistance training in there because like real life has resistance, right? So we need to be able to like pick boxes up when we're moving without breaking our back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Cool. Yeah. So the thing that we're doing with building university is obviously I give my clients workouts and stuff like that, but something I think will be kind of cool coming up. So I've definitely had points in my training where I did not want to think about what I was going to do, right? Like I just wanted to coach so that I didn't have to think about it. I just show up to the gym and do the thing. So I've definitely hired trainers. Coaches need coaches too. So I've definitely hired trainers, and I'm not gonna lie, like programming, I don't mind doing it. Like I'm pretty good at doing it and everything like that, but it's not my favorite thing to do. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do pretty soon, if we can get a few more students into Building University, is I've got a friend who is a strength and conditioning coach and a physical therapist, and she was on Team USA Cheer, and I want her to program our workouts. I'm so excited. So she already has all her shit together. She's cheering or she's coaching a bunch of cheerleaders already and has like full strength and conditioning workouts that she's doing. So that's what I'm super excited about. Once we get a few more people in, we're going to start having her doing the programming so that you're getting workouts directly from somebody who specializes in that. So that's exciting for me and for y'all. All right, cool. I think that's everything I have for today. So tomorrow is going to be our final workshop. Do you know if you guys are both going to make it?
I'm not sure yet, just because my friend is coming.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But yeah, if she does, I was gonna ask if it's okay if we both come on here.
Yeah, for sure. No problem.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what my plans are for this weekend yet.
Okay. I know. I was like Friday night is 7 o'clock. Who wants to be here? 9 o'clock. Who wants to be here? But I also figured that it would be easier to keep them the same time every day. So we'll play with that in the future too. But for now, we'll meet tomorrow at 7ish our time, and hopefully I will see you both there. But otherwise, you're all set. Thank you so much for coming.
All right.
All right,
Thank
see
you.
you
All right.
guys.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.